Hey, so another check-in with the clvrings by Anthony Trollope. Um, I just want to see the see, see the contrast between Julia Ungar, nee, Clavering, and Archie Clavering. Uh, Julia Julie Ungar. There's a lot of allusion in that Victorian way to the horrible indignities, the outrages that were committed against her by her former husband this year that we've skipped, which you wonder what that kind of implies in a Victorian context of is this basically rape within marriage? Is this etiquette breaches? I think it's getting more towards like violence towards her, degradation towards her. And she's saying like, it's better for me to be in London, with Sophia, the 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 woman whose Polish brother is basically trying to, like, get her, and she's like, it's actually better to be here than it is to be in the cold barrenness of Lord Lord Ungar's former estate, which she doesn't even know if he owned. But she's like, no, I'm gonna stay here with it. Um, and she has an interview with Harry Clavering, where where she there's obviously the implication that she wants to be with him, like that this is her true love. And indeed, later she writes him a letter saying, basically confessing her love and will you marry me. And then she burns it and says, no, he needs to come to me. I'm not gonna subjugate myself to that point. And through all this, Harry does not mention that he is engaged, obviously because he is yearning about her so much. Yet at the same time, he's being so, I mean, in his own desire, he's being so selfish towards her, not letting her know what his situation is. I mean, later, Hugh and Archie Clavering, the two kind of more landed guys, Hugh Clavering being the guy who owns the big estate and is the head of the Claverings. I was like, well, you need to, Archie, you need to get at her right away because there's that Harry sniffing around. It's like, well, but Harry's engaged. Ah, yeah, but you can set aside engagements, which I'm sure Hugh is of the opinion that, yeah, you could just toss one woman away for another. At least Harry's got a little bit of inclination that that's not such the case. But he says, yeah, you need to get her. And there's a what I think would be horribly, jarringly sexist thing of Harry goes and talks to a friend of his, right old chap, Boodle, who's apparently just gets called Doodle, and you can tell why he's called Doodle because they have a talk about this, and it's of course all in horse metaphor, and it's like, well, it's a trained mare, so you got to give her spurs and let her, you know, and let her know who's boss. Basically, that's what you should do. And it's like, you get the reins and you dig in the spurs, and he kind of shows that, and Archie's like, oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I should do. Not never, and as Trollope notes, it's like, yeah, never asked actually. Well, what does that actually mean in a female male thing versus a male horse mare thing? It's like yeah, it's a one thing to say that metaphor, but what the hell does that mean? And Archie he is definitely a beta dude. He's a guy like, he's weighed himself up and he sees that he's not, like, when he weighs himself and Julia up, it's like Julia has got a lot more weight than he does. He is much more a lighter guy, and in his own, given his own druthers, he would never ever even try. He's like, he knows that Julia is out of his league, but the brother Hugh is full of himself and has decided this is what's going to happen, and so has put him up to it. And so now we're going to get a scene of him coming to Julia and, I don't know, trying to ride her, trying to tight pull those reins in tight and dig in the spurs, because that's what you do. Let her know who's boss. That's not what he does. It's, give her, just let her know you're there. Let her know you're there. Kind of bullshit macho posturing, which Trollope is very good at lampooning in that section. Is Boodle is definitely just a freaking little doodle, little, you know, he's got no clue. He's got no clue about women, or if he does, it's the brute stuff. Which I mean is when you kind of you compare it with what Julia's experience with Lord Ungar is, and whatever it sounds like really psychological, maybe physical torture she went through. So you get the comedic, but you also get the kind of that hint at real darkness there. There's that black hole of that year of her spending with Lord Ungar, him dying, but also him. I'm assuming more psychological torture than anything of outrages, but yeah, really tough stuff. Um, yeah. So it's always interesting with Trollope. You have the kind of a kind of a lateness, but you also have like genuine darkness, genuine straightened circumstances. You have a deep understanding of how this world tells on people. At the same time as he's always there with kind of generous humor and kind of observation that isn't as dark and damning as it is just like these two jokers sitting in the thing saying, "Oh, we're just you're right, lady. I don't know. You show them who's boss." Kind of like stuff you just roll your eyes at. So yeah, that's my check-in at this point for the clvrngs.